Okay. So
So,
where should we start?
well, so I've had a look through the various links that you kindly sent, and I've downloaded one of the ebooks, and so I've gone through and sort of, if you like, generalized myself with your concepts and things like that. But I thought really just good to hear some of it from yourself, and then also I'd like to understand a little bit about what are you sort of looking for, if you like, at the moment? Because obviously we develop an app obviously targeted at helping people speak English as a second language, and so I was just sort of interested in your like, if you like, in some of your views, opinions, ideas, that type of thing, and then sort of, like I said, understand a little bit more about yourself and what you're looking for, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, I would like to start from the end. That is my final objective and why I am so pleased to talk to you. Uh, because now you have a very good application. You are a famous company and you have thousands, actually more than 100,000 customers on Android only. But what I have in mind is to create a new type of application which will give you millions of customers because it is completely different to anything what we've done before. Here is the poster, and I'll try to explain the main idea on the poster, and then we'll go into some details.
Mhm.
This is AI Web Application Tutor for learning any foreign language. First of all, even the title is unusual because it's, if I would tell you a year ago that one application can be used for learning any foreign language, it will sound, and even probably now it sounds to you ridiculously incorrect. But I have YouTube videos and I can demonstrate to you separate components of this application. To create this application will take a very low investment and will give you an unprecedented return on investment because it uses three inventions puts it together. First, personalized lessons. Its unprecedented capability of generative AI in creating personalized lessons in any language, on any level. And it also allows you to create support in any native language, which means that all created personalized lessons, unlimited number, of course, are comprehensible because whenever you need, you have support in your native language. The second invention is subconscious training. I have two patents on subconscious training in language skills, ensures fluency in less than a year. You have probably heard that we have two systems of the mind. One is slow and another is fast,
Mhm.
super fast. Daniel Kahneman described this system and received Nobel Prize for it in 2011. We know now 30 methods of learning English or any foreign language, and all of them have one common feature, including your application. They use conscious memorization.
Sure.
And that is wrong because as a native speaker, Paul speaks subconsciously, that is automatically. Why he can do it? Because His symbols in which he thinks are wired together to the native language. And whenever he wants to express his thoughts, the words appear automatically without any recall. And that's why the subconscious training allows to ensure fluency in less than a year. What means subconscious training? If you do one or two actions, that is, you are, and on your website, you are writing. Inarticulate, the user speaks and reads the entire time the application is in use. But what if we'll try, right? But what if we'll try to do absolutely different? If your users will do speaking, no, let me start again. What if your users will start listening, reading, and speaking at the same time? What happens in this case? Because consciously we are not capable to multitasking. We can do only one or two tasks.
Hmm.
When you start doing three tasks at the same time, listening, reading, and speaking, then you automatically open the second mind, subconscious mind. And in this way, another objective is reached automatically because most beginners, especially, and even intermediate students, they have a barrier which they cannot overcome. The barrier is that they are thinking in the native language and they try to add a foreign language to their native language. It's not possible.
Hmm.
Even if you will be able to memorize words or phrases or anything, the recall is so slow that you cannot produce 2 or 3 words per second needed for natural communication.
Yeah.
That's why to create this ability, you write on your website that fluency comes when you speak more. Excuse me, it's not right. Fluency comes when you use a different system of the mind,
Right.
subconscious mind. And there's a very interesting result, conclusion, which I describe in a few of my articles. I can show them in some details here. I will give you the final result. It's not possible to use conscious and subconscious learning at the same time. All teachers, 100% of them, believe that you can do, and usually we do both, conscious and subconscious. It's not possible. Why it's not possible? Because the characteristics of conscious and subconscious are so much different that it's not possible. One is slow, another is fast. One has speed recall very slow, another very fast. Now, the when we say the subconscious is fast, you cannot imagine that it is by 5 orders of magnitude higher. It's
Right.
unlimited multitasking. It has access to long-term memory. It does not have a polling for getting curves. So to use subconscious training, if you want, I can, if we'll have time, I will demonstrate you what it means practically and how it is done practically. The third component of this application, I call it automated self-learning. What that means. In the past, the concept automated self-learning was used only for machine learning. But nowadays, it is possible to use it for developing fluency in any foreign language using automated self-training and personalized lessons. What is self-training? Self-training is when you have a tutor which knows and is capable much more than any teacher can do. And by the way, just conversation, as you write on your articulate website, is not the way to learning. And Stefan Krashen said it half a century ago, because it is connected with memorization. In your website, you write, articulate shifts the focus of language learning from memorization to continual usage. It's a
Yeah.
great step that you try to go away from memorization, but it is not a quite right step, because continual usage is interrelated with memorization and is practically impossible or not desirable. We have to find the real alternative to memorization. And look here what BARD, artificial intelligence, gives me the answer to the question, what is an alternative to conscious memorization? The alternative is implicit memory. Implicit memory is a type of long-term memory that you remember subconsciously and effortlessly. It, it is also sometimes referred to as subconscious memory or automatic memory. Implicit memories are often procedural and focus on step-by-step processes required to complete a task. What that means is that you need repetition, you need experience, you need to do English all the time. And by doing English, it's not speaking, it's not reading, it's not conversation, it's all together and at the same time. If you do not understand how it is done, I can demonstrate to you now.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I think I understand the basic concept. Like you're trying to say that it's not any one individual component; it's all of the components, and it's not even, in terms of, like you said, it's not memorization; it's usage. Language is a skill. It's not a data set that you learn. It's something you have to use, and consequently, um, like I said, you need to get all of these components moving. And it sounds to me that the way that the subconscious training part is activated to stop things like translation, etc., is
Exactly.
basically you
The most
occupy
important, because without stopping cross translation, you cannot learn.
right. And so the way the if I understand correctly, the approach to that is basically to occupy the mind with enough things that it can't go back to just looking at whatever the L1 or the native language is. It's basically having to do three things at once, and that's just preventing it. It's overload isn't quite the right word, but you're occupying the mind in a way that you're not allowing the learner to go back to their native language, so that they're effectively having to get their brain to keep going and keep using. Um, yeah,
Paul,
that's my interpretation. It may or may not be correct, but yes.
Yeah, that is absolutely right. Because what happens when you do subconscious training, you allow the brain to do the all the work, and our brain capability. You know that 95% of all our activities control subconsciously. It is unlimited capacity. It records everything, and whatever you acquired is then becomes automatic.
Mm.
By the way, if I ask you in which language do you think, what is your answer?
Uh, I'm not sure. I don't. I don't know what language. I mean, the language I verbalize in is English, but I don't know what language I think in.
It's a very important
Yeah.
question, and most teachers, educators, they think that they think in native language, which is wrong. And here is I have sent you that a little article. You did notice it.
Yes.
We think in the language of thoughts, which is first continuous and consists of symbols and feelings.
Hmm.
And this, I made this assumption in 1992 in my first book, Language Bridge. But in 2007, Steven Pinker from MIT has published a book, Language Instinct, and he described it in full details. We think in the language of thoughts, which he calls mentalese. The language
Okay.
of thought is connected to your native language. It creates the illusion that we think in the native language. Now, when we dream, is the language of thought. It's mentalese. But
Hmm.
if we continue in this elaboration, that we come to a completely different definition what means to learn a language. Because a language of thoughts, mentalese, is the same irrespective of how many languages you speak. If you learn a new language, you still use the same language of thoughts. So your language of thought is one for
Right.
all languages. So now our objective is to wire the symbols of your known language of thought with new words of a foreign language directly.
Hmm.
Currently, we cannot do it in the current system, and even in your application, it's not possible because we cannot stop cross translation. And that's why it becomes a very cumbersome problem. You think in your native language, you try to translate quickly, and to think and answer in a foreign language, it's not possible. That's why um, millions, of course, learned a foreign language. It's great, but 100 millions failed.
Yeah.
And we never talk about those who failed. So that also is a very important conclusion, which we should make, that this application, which I propose to you to create, is very easily to create because you have all components of it. You have text to voice engine. All have AI API. We have subconscious training, which I will assign the patents right to you. And we have a new self-learning approach, which we can use in this application and use it for learning any foreign language. So the application comes with the zero lessons. It
Mhm.
comes only with potentials to create unlimited number of lessons according to your interests or vocational interest or your preferences. You create your own lessons.
Yeah.
In my few posts which I've sent to you, and I can show them to you now, uh,
They should certainly be more engaged because just naturally that's something that they're interested in already. And I totally agree that one of the big issues with traditional teaching and schooling is if you've prepared some material, great if the student happens to be interested in it, but if they're not interested in it, you're already on the back foot in trying to um, get that across. So yeah, I can
Paul,
understand that.
but it's not enough to make the material interesting because it has to be comprehensible. What means comprehensible? That I have 5 drills, and you start with a very interesting drill. You listen, first of all, you create according to your level. I can show you now. Let me share the screen. I want to show
Yeah.
you one lesson. Do you hear this lesson?
I can see it. Yes, the little prince and the fox.
Exactly. I have created this lesson for a beginner English a learner whose native language is French. So
Okay.
your first drill is you listen to this recording in French with eyes closed because you then visualize everything. You visualize, you create this story, you create the video, and then you start reading it first, then listening, and then reading, listening, and repeating at the same time. So it's a whole set, and every step is calculated according to our ability to acquire language, to do subconscious acquisition. And now I will show you what means by the way, it's extremely important. Do you see here the number 075?
Yes, that's going to be the speed, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
by the way, for beginners, it's absolutely destructive to give natural speed.
Right.
And it was determined actually half a century more, 70 years ago, by Voice of America. And he was nominated for Nobel Prize for that. He was not given, but was nominated because he introduced special English. Special English, you probably know it very well. It's 30% slower than natural English because for beginners and for processing, we must hear it, we must process, absorb it, get used to it, and so I will now demonstrate you what is subconscious training. I hope it will work. It
So
didn't
it
work.
happens to
So
me all the time when I do give demos. The
yeah,
audio
so
often goes.
what happens is that you listen to this. He walked for a long time, but he did not see anyone. He
Yeah.
was very thirsty and hungry. He saw a flower on a hill. He thought it might have some water. So I you understand that it is pronounced by your text to voice engine aloud with near human quality. I listen to it and repeat at the same time. And when I read, listen, and repeat, my conscious control is turned off automatically.
Yeah.
So my brain absorbs it. And that's how the fluency comes. And it is very interesting because it's emotional. It is my text, and I can use, if I don't remember a word, I can anytime go back to my native language and make it comprehensible. And so that is the way to go. we use a new system, we use self-learning. We don't need and don't want to have a conversation with somebody. I want to do three actions at the same time. The only way that I can activate my subconscious part. Now, there's a very important uh, component. I sent you the article for that. I don't know if you read it. You, in your application, you give feedback, and
Yeah,
you
I read your the LinkedIn article on yeah, the immediate sort of feedback thing, and why it would potentially be destructive or demoralizing perhaps to some people. Yes.
it is definitely destructive, and it's by the way was used for 100 years, and the first company who introduced actually feedback was Rosetta Stone. And now the company, which was in the United States number one for many years, doesn't exist anymore. So it was not invention, it was not innovation, it was just a misconception. Why? First of all, because we do not have a filter to remember correct words and forget wrong words.
Yeah. So it is interesting. So we find some people,
Secondly,
I was going to say, some people sort of enjoy the the feedback. They start to use it like a game and trying to get it right. So some people enjoy it, and some people definitely don't. If they make the same mistake over and over, it can be yeah, unhelpful to some, but others we find like it as a
Paul,
game.
Paul,
Yeah,
you are mistaken. What you take that some readers like it, excuse me, it's the same as say that some readers like fast food. It doesn't make it healthy or correct. So
sure.
there are a lot of things which absolutely explain that please no feedback. First of all, feedback automatically activates conscious learning. But just now I explained to you, and I thought that you have now understanding why we should do subconscious training. In subconscious training, no feedback is allowed, is possible, because it stops it.
Hmm.
Secondly, we do errors automatically. That's why to do feedback is nonsense because we do them automatically and we have to do something which will automatically improve them, which is subconscious training. The next thing, imagine now that you are a professional pianist and you still work with your professor. Will your professor ever show you your mistakes? Never. Will figure skating coach show you mistakes? Never. They show only how to do it, what to do it. So the
Mm.
no feedback because the feedback should be implicit. What I mean by implicit feedback, if I measure fluency, by the way, before I answer this question, if we consider three concepts pronunciation, fluency, intelligibility,
Hmm.
what is the relationship between those three?
Well, I would say that intelligibility is the one that we're probably striving for, and that fluency and pronunciation are supporting aspects of intelligibility. So ultimately, whether we speak slowly or quickly in terms of fluency, whether we can get across our point is actually coming down to intelligibility. You know, cats and dogs can tell you when they're hungry, they have a way of communicating with you. Um, and so, yeah, I would say that the interrelation is that fluency and pronunciation are, if you like, aspects of intelligibility, but they're not the be all and end all. Whereas what we're trying to strive for in communication is to get to intelligibility.
Uh, Not quite. I have a different, not only opinion, but absolutely different facts,
Mhm.
which show me that. And by the way, have you read the Purdue University study, very serious study, which had shown that pronunciation has no correlation with intelligibility, but fluency determines intelligibility.
No,
And
I have not read that. No,
have you seen that?
no, I haven't
No,
seen that. No.
there's such a study. By the way, I came to this conclusion many years ago. That's what I teach all the time. Now, why? Four people, every four people in the world speaking English, three of them non-native speakers.
Oh, yeah, yeah, sure. Yes, understood.
They have their different pronunciations. It doesn't matter. What matters is if they can speak automatically, producing two or three words. If they speak saying 40 words per minute or even 60, it's not intelligibility. Fluency determines everything. Why you should not teach pronunciation? Very simple. We have 100 muscles in our face, which are responsible for our pronunciation. And it's absolutely obvious they can be controlled only subconsciously. So, consciously, you cannot make any changes. And by the way, if you allow your subconscious, and that's what we do, because you listen in headsets, you read and speak at the same time. You do not analyze. You don't hear yourself. You speak. So your brain will absorb pronunciation automatically.
Hmm.
You will have the best pronunciation possible. Because pronunciation, and to explain, excuse me, your so called scientific study of pronunciation, thi and we, water, and think, excuse me, it makes no sense because pronunciation doesn't matter. What matters and what would be absolutely fantastic if the same teacher would measure fluency, but she even cannot make a definition of what is fluency because fluency definition does not exist. Everybody has its own
Right.
definition. I can give you a definition of fluency. I have, you've seen it. Two
Yes.
ebooks, 70 articles, two patents, and blah, 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 blah. And my definition of fluency is ability to speak automatically and producing two or three words per second.
Yeah.
First of all, it's very easily to measure. Even the progress of fluency, development of fluency is very easily could be measured, and that feedback which is needed. For a beginner, for intermediate students, advanced students, you show them if they use subconscious training, allow their brain to do the training, their fluency develops automatically, their pronunciation improves automatically.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so I'm just going to have to interrupt at the moment just because I'm running out of time. I've got another meeting to go to shortly, but I'd be very interested in picking up the conversation again. I don't know, a bit later, maybe tomorrow or day after, if you have any more time. Because I'd still like to understand a bit more, and in particular, if there's any data points around some of these. But yeah, just to let you know, because I'm going to run out of time in a minute, but I'd be very interested in continuing the conversation.
Let's
If you,
continue, but we have to think. A data point does not work. I have a special article why data point doesn't work. Because because they don't work. If they would work, we would not have this trouble in language industry. When English proficiency in China, Japan decreases gradually from year to year, we wouldn't have this situation if we would have data points. Please don't ask about data points. Let's think and let's look, let's check and make conclusions because data points do not work. Let's make the next meeting. I would gladly do it, and I would say that it would be wonderful because I think you got the glimpse of this new application you can create together with my help and with my patent, and nobody will be able to to copycat your development. You will have not thousands, you will have millions of customers. Let's do it together.
okay,
So
yeah, go on.
make
This is going to cut me off in a minute because I've got. I can
okay.
see.
So you can make it tomorrow at the same time.